and thank you for joining us today for this wonderful session on breaking boundaries, challenging gender stereotypes in today's world. So, I'm thrilled to be your host for this important discussion. So, today we have the honor of being joined by a remarkable individual who has dedicated their career to empowering others and challenging societal norms. Allow me to introduce our esteemed speaker, Almaz Virani. So, Almaz is not just a keynote speaker, but also a public speaking coach. She is a catalyst for a change, a corporate trainer, and a true change maker. With an impressive track record of training and coaching over 45,000 individuals across various organizations, Almaz brings a wealth of experience and insights to our discussion today. So, with her expertise and passion for fostering inclusivity, Almaz is at the forefront of challenging gender stereotype and reshaping the narrative for a more equitable world. So, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Almaz as we dwell into the crucial dialogue of breaking boundaries and reshaping our perceptions.
Hi, everyone, and good afternoon. Welcome to this amazing session. I'm super excited. Before we jump in, I'd like you to quickly tell me your name and what was your favorite toy as a child? What was your favorite toy as a child? So please open the chat box and tell me your name and your favorite toy as a child. Okay, G.I. Joe, okay. Come on. I need all of you to participate with me. Go back to your childhood. Think about your favorite toy when you were growing up. Usha says, any teddy. Okay. Barbie dolls, Bhavna. Okay. बाकी सब लोग खिलौने से नहीं खेलते थे? Must have been some toy you played with. Toy cycle. Hot Wheels. Favorite toy as a child was Hot Wheel cars. Right. Remote car is what Pawan says. I see a lot of cars in the chat box. What was your favorite toy? Okay, keep adding those answers. And today we're going to talk about something very, very interesting. And as I walk you through this session, and trust me, there's no download here, there is no gyan. It's going to be a lot of interaction between us, a lot of stories that we're going to share. I'm going to take you back to your childhood. Okay. So if you want to go back to your childhood and have this nostalgic journey of where you've reached and how you've reached and the way you behave and the way you do today, then let's get this journey started. I'm really, really happy to be here. But for us to make this program a success, I really need all of you to participate as much as possible. So I'm going to need your chats. I'm going to need that encouragement. I'm going to need stories from you, examples from you. We need to talk. This is a mudda that needs a voice, and my voice is not enough. So are you ready to lend your voice to this cause, to this amazing point of view around breaking boundaries and stereotypes? If you are, I'd like you to type voice in the chat box. If you are ready to raise your voice with me in today's session and make this a powerful session, I'd like you to type voice. VOICE. Let me see how many of you are with me, are going to lend your voice, and we're going to make this a healthy discussion today. Come on, let me see voice in the chat box. Yay! We need more energy in this room. We need all of you to participate. All of us have a story. We all have a point of view as far as this particular topic is concerned. And I need all of you to be here fully in the moment. Okay, so before we begin, I'm going to ask you to put everything that's distracting you, keep it away, because the next 1 hour are going to be full of aha moments for you. And every time you experience an aha in the session, which is this feeling of, oh my God, she's so right about this, I'd like you to type aha in the chat box. Okay. Every time you feel, oh my God, this is my story, she's talking about me, I'd like you to type aha. Okay. And aha could also be with some emojis that you could use, some claps or ways for you to share your love. Also be when you feel that something within you is feeling a breakthrough and it's getting you to think. I'd like you to write aha or give us an emoji. Okay, so let's get started. I'm super duper excited about this. With your voice and mine, we are going to break boundaries and challenge gender stereotypes in today's world. Okay, so let's first take a look at my story. That's me. I think I was about 7 years old in that picture. Yeah, I was a very tall kid. I'm still very tall. My favorite place was the bathroom. Now, a lot of people run to the bathroom because of nature's call, but I used to run to the bathroom to run away from bullying, from rejection, from comments, from judgment, from aunties telling me that ये तो सावली है, इससे कौन शादी करेगा? Okay, now give me an aha in the chat box if you can relate to that. But that was literally me in my childhood. I used to run away from a lot of noise. And I ran away, hid myself, and I literally had no voice. I was a nagger with an inferiority complex. I struggled to speak. I struggled to play with kids my age. Why? Because I did not fit into the society's definition of beautiful, because the society said fair is beautiful. And I come from a family where people are like Snow White fair. Okay, so I was not society's definition of beautiful. I had dusky skin. And as I grew up, I had crooked teeth, I had braces. I was like really tall. I was about 5'8" and thin when I was, I think, in my 8th grade. So I was not society's definition of beautiful. And if society does not see you as beautiful, you know what? They automatically think you're dumb. आपके पास दिमाग ही नहीं है. What's your personality or your looks got to do with your brain? But that's how this little girl was perceived. Okay. Thankfully, I had this amazing teacher who gave me this opportunity to give my first speech when I was 11 years old. अब मैं स्टूडेंट बड़ी अच्छी थी. ओके, सो पीपल यूज्ड टू थिंक आई एम डम, बट आई वाज नॉट. बहुत दिमाग था मेरे पास. एंड आई रिमेंबर माय फेवरेट टॉय was a blackboard with a box of chalks, and I used to write in one corner. Okay, and that blackboard has turned into a whiteboard now, which is a different story. But I used to like to write, so I used to write speeches. And this teacher of mine, she gave me this opportunity to give my first speech when I was 11 years old, and that is where my breakthrough happened. Right? I remember when I climbed on stage for the first time with teeth chattering, knees locked, sweaty palms, and I looked at the mic for the first time. I felt like when I said good morning, the mic looked back at me and said, Almaz, today, don't hide, show up. And I decided to show up that day. That day, when 250 kids in the audience gave me a huge round of applause after my speech, I got my first validation. Uske pehle to nobody even recognized who I was in my own family. I was this ugly duckling of the family. I was this person with absolutely no brains, according to people around me. And it's just so sad, right? Can you imagine what this girl would have gone through? So if this was a fictional story, if this was something you were watching on Netflix as a story right now, what do you think this character must have gone through? Please open your chat box and tell me, what do you think this girl, this 7, 8-year-old girl must be going through in her childhood because of all the prejudice that was given to her? What do you think? Forget for a moment that this is Almaz, right? I've just narrated a story to you of a girl who was really struggling with her childhood. She must be feeling very lonely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Usha, thank you for sharing that. And I must tell you that I've been on a long journey to heal myself and love myself. And today, when I look at myself in the mirror, I say, wow, you're so beautiful, Almas. But that journey was very, very difficult. And one of the things I've had to heal within myself has been to actually shoo away this loneliness because I was very lonely. What else do you think this girl would have faced? She was scared. Bilkul. If scared was if Virani was not my last name, scared would have been my middle and my last name. That's literally how scared I was most of my life, right? Today, when people look at my profile and they look at all of this fancy stuff, I've been covered in more than 30 media outlets. I've written this book. I have a podcast. I've coached 45,000 people. I'm like, yeah, right. You don't know my story. This is where I started, right? It's been a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and a lot of deep healing that has led me to this point. And today I feel like I'm in service. And if I can share whatever I know about this whole process of breaking boundaries, I'm going to be happy to do that for you. So type amen in the chat box if you're really excited to know more about how can we break boundaries, right? Yeah, I don't know if I felt sick mentally. Yeah. But yeah, I wasn't able to open up my feelings in front of people. Right. Now, some of you may be relating to this. You may have this feeling of, oh, I understand how this could have felt. All of us have our own stories. Abhi ye story aati kahan se hai? Okay, so kind of let's understand what happens to human beings in the first 5 years. Okay, what happens to children in the first 5 years? So there's a lot of psychology on early brain development. And you will see that there's a lot of facade around preschools and sending kids to fancy schools, even when they are 6 months old, as early as 6 months old, right? Why? Because the first 5 years is when a child is embracing and receiving a lot of stuff. When a child is born, a child is a clean slate. A child has no idea what is right, what is wrong, what do I look like, what is my identity, do people love me, etc. Nothing. When they're born, they're a clean slate. And it's in the first 5 years that the child is recording a lot of stuff mentally. Everything that the child observes, it records. Everything that is told to the child, it starts believing it. Okay, so if I was told I'm not beautiful, my brain recorded that. And because that command was given to me over and over and over again, I started believing it like it was the truth. But who said it was the truth? I am beautiful, right? And beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. So the first 5 years is when a lot of conditioning happens for kids. Okay. And we're going to do a little exercise right now to understand what kind of conditioning do we do for genders. Okay. So for men and women, for boys and girls, there's a lot of conditioning that happens in our early childhood. And I call them gender stereotypes. I also have a podcast called Beyond Cliche. I'm going to put that down in the chat box. And that podcast is about breaking gender stereotypes. Okay. And I interview a lot of people who've actually broken these stereotypes. And if you go back and listen to some episodes, you will see that they talk a lot about their early childhood and how certain stereotypes were instilled in them. Okay. So I'm going to show you some pictures on the screen right now. And we need to have like a dialogue around this. Okay. So if you find this picture that I'm going to share with you on the screen, and if it is relatable to you, I'd like you to type relatable in the chat box. Okay. Relatable in the chat box. Are we ready for this? Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to share with you is a kitchen tea set. If you remember this from your childhood, type relatable. Or yes, if that's simple for you, whatever is simple. Shikha says relatable, Bhavna relatable, Roshan says yes. Okay. Okay. Now, when I say relatable, think about it. Do you have any stories related to this? Do you remember playing with this? What did you do with this? Right? What did you do with this tea set? What are your early memories? If you can type a little bit about your, Ganesh is saying ghar ghar. So Ganesh, what was your role in this ghar ghar? Ganesh, can you unmute and talk? Is it possible for us to do that? Ekta, would Ganesh be able to unmute?
No, Almaz, Ganesh
Right,
will not be able to
right,
unmute.
right. So Ganesh, if you can just type, what was your role in this ghar ghar that was being played with this kitchen tea set? Sandeep says picnic. I used to be the mommy of that ghar ghar Seema. Interesting. I'd like you to ponder over that thought. We'll come back to that. Okay. और कोई है जो इससे relate करता है? Kitchen tea set. So I told you that my favorite toy was the blackboard with a box of chalks. This was my second favorite toy. मैं भी घर घर खेलती थी, डर डर के खेलती थी. You know, scared was my middle and last name. But I remember I used to play ghar ghar and I used to make biscuits of Parle G. I used to make cake of Parle G biscuits. उसको थोड़ा पानी वानी में मिलाकर उसके केक बनाते थे. And then these little cups of tea, used to pour water in it. And the fascinating part about this ghar ghar is I used to be this homemaker, housewife, who would serve this tea and that biscuit ka cake to my husband, pretending husband at that point in time, who would come tired from office. And again, this cousin, this husband of mine would be a female cousin. So हम ये घर घर हम खेलते थे. Ganesh is saying I used to be eating my favorite dishes after cooking was done in घर घर. See, so Ganesh used to enjoy the favorite dishes. So Ganesh, cook कौन करता था? Who used to cook in this घर घर? Shikha says we used to make tea juice. So, like you can see in the comments, and I'm sure this is relatable. Once again, if it's relatable to you, keep typing aha. I want to see more and more ahas. So I know that this is something that you can relate to as well, right? So, Ganesh is saying my sister and friends used to make the food. So I hope you're getting a sense of how conditioning happens just with this toy, right? So that's my story. And you won't believe this. The one thing that I still love to make today is tea. Okay. And I made a lot of chai, a lot of tea, and a lot of food for my husband, not out of love so much, but more from an obligation. Because I was conditioned at a very young age that my job is what? My job is to make tea and serve a husband who comes back thaka hua from work. Make sense? Yeah? Okay. I'm going to show you the second picture. And boys in the room, okay, we're going to look at this picture and I would love to get your inputs as well. Boys and girls, the next picture is Cinderella and the Prince Charming. If this is relatable for you, type relatable in the chat box. Is this relatable for you? Cinderella and Prince Charming. This used to be like a favorite story for all of us. And I think this has been passed down from generation to generation to generation. And I think Disney actually ruined my life. Actually, my love life literally ruined my love life, is what I think at times. Because all along, I thought that there will be a Prince Charming on a white horse that would come to rescue me, right? How many of us believe in this घोड़े पे आने वाला Rajkumar, Prince Charming on a white horse? Type Prince in the chat box if this is something that you've heard of. This is something that has been literally ingrained in us as we grow up, right? एक राजकुमार का इंतजार हो रहा है, okay? And poor boys are now struggling to be that Rajkumar because it's not easy to be that Rajkumar, right? And every girl wants to be rescued. And this is something that is ingrained in us. Whether we believe it or not today is a different story. But these are the kind of stories we heard growing up. You look at any fairy tale, it's all about a damsel in distress and somebody is rescuing that person. Beauty and the Beast. Literally कैद कर दिया उसने beauty को. क्यों? If I kiss the prince, then if I kiss the frog, turn into a prince. Rapunzel, again, trapped inside. All of these stories are girls wanting to be rescued, and boys need to go and rescue them. What do you think could have been the impact of this in our lives today? Are we waiting for a Prince Charming on a white horse? Boys, are you trying too hard to become that Prince Charming? These are questions to ask. Okay. All right. Boys, ready for the next one? This one is for you. If this is relatable, type yes or me in the chat box. Superheroes, superheroes. Is this relatable for you? Any memories from this? Boys and girls, is this relatable? And Sandeep is saying, of course, yes. So if there's any story around that, if you can very briefly type that out, that'll be nice. Sridhar says, Avengers, Shaktiman. Yeah, Shaktiman is another character, right? This is so relatable. इसने आदमियों का बहुत नुकसान किया है संदीप because you still wish you can be Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is a superhero with special powers. It takes us away from our reality. It literally takes away our reality from us. Come on, yeah, this is fictional stuff. We can't be superheroes. And it's so sad that we're actually positioning them as role models for little boys. How unfair, right? How unfair. Come on, type unfair in the chat box if you think this is unfair. We're doing this to kids. We're giving them these toys saying, ye aapka role model hai. And every child wants to become either Superman, Spider-Man, Batman. आप देखोगे fancy dress में भी वही कपड़े पहन के जाते हैं. Right? There are theme parties around this. And it's like pride to own a Batman costume because you feel like Batman. अरे fictional है ये, reality थोड़ी ना है. So we are setting some really uncool standards, okay, unrealistic, uncool standards for boys when we're showing them this. Again, all of these are Avengers. They're rescuing not just girls now, not just a damsel in distress, but they're rescuing entire cities and sometimes even the planet. अरे क्यों इतना बोझ डाल रहे हैं हम लड़कों पर? Okay. Contrary to this, girls, we are so used to Barbie dolls. So somebody said Barbie dolls, right? So type Barbie in the chat box if Barbie or dolls has been relatable for you growing up. Okay. Barbie. Anyone that kind of relates to Barbie dolls growing up? Yeah, Barbie dolls. Barbie dolls में problem क्या है? What is the biggest problem with giving Barbie doll as a toy to a girl child? What do you think is the biggest problem doing that? It's a huge problem, okay, with these dolls. And there was a movie called Barbie, and I think it highlighted a lot of important points. But just to kind of talk about this as regular girls and boys here, Barbie, exactly, Bhavna, high five for that. Beauty standards. ये कौन से beauty standards है भैया? What the hell is this? Who looks like a Barbie doll? And that is what is being shown to us. No wonder we feel that we're not good enough as women when we grow up. We're constantly trying to make ourselves more beautiful. Better hair, better skin, better makeup, better nails. कहाँ से आता है ये? बचपन में ही हमारा स्टैंडर्ड क्या था? बाबी डॉल. और लड़कों का स्टैंडर्ड क्या था? एवेंजर्स. So what are we doing to little kids? Ravi Kumar says Chota Bheem. Chota Bheem, and then there's Chutki. Okay, so if you Google Almas Virani Chota Bheem, you're going to find a petition that I started on change.org where I asked the makers of Chota Bheem to create a Chutki TV show and stop gender stereotyping. Because Chutki is this girl with a frock and blush on and chotis, and her mother says, don't climb trees, and she's making laddus for Bheem. My point is, why don't we have female superheroes as well, yeah? In the cartoon space. पहले तो superheroes होने ही नहीं चाहिए, but role models for that matter. So my petition was asking them to create a Chutki TV show, and they're making that show apparently now, is what they've said. They said yes to me after I got about 10,000 signatures. Midday and Times of India covered this on their front pages, and they're saying they're making the TV show now. So let's see. But again, what kind of standards are these? You know, एक लड्डू खाया और हम strong बन गए, और फिर वो लड़की लड्डू लेकर घूम रही है उसके पीछे. क्या हो रहा है भाई साहब, क्या हो रहा है? Why are we doing this to children, right? Boys, we're going to change the mood a little bit now. Okay, I'm going to show you one more picture, and if this is relatable to you, I'd like you to type yes in capital letters, YES, if this really relates to you. Okay, लड़के रोते नहीं हैं. Boys don't cry. If this is relatable to you, type yes in the chat box. If you heard this, okay, maybe you don't believe in this, but if you heard this growing up around you, if this is a narrative that was told when you were growing up. Now, if you had progressive parents, when I say progressive, what I mean is emotionally progressive parents, then maybe you had a parent that said it's okay to cry, but even then, the environment around you would have told you लड़के रोते नहीं हैं. आपको पता है ये कितना dangerous है as a narrative for a child? I'll give you the psychology behind it, okay? So there is a term called emotional castration, which is what we are doing to children, to boys. We all have emotions as human beings. Yes or yes, we have emotions as human beings, right? And कुदरत ने हमको आंसू दिए हैं. We've got tears to be able to release that emotion. Okay? But what happens is the society tells us as boys that we cannot cry. So we're literally suppressing that emotion. We're suppressing our emotions. Okay? And they are suppressed to a point where we're not releasing. As boys, we don't have enough of a release mechanism for that emotion because we'll be considered weak if we cry. Okay? So we're not releasing that emotion enough. The emotion is suppressed. And then that emotion comes out at times in a very, very ineffective way. It could either be, I always say this, right? It could either be violence or sex. These are outlets or unhealthy outlets. Okay. And I have a lot of compassion for men when I say this. I'm somebody who talks about how gender stereotypes is impacting all genders. Okay, a lot of compassion. I have a son that I'm raising, and I know the challenges that come with it. Okay, so if the society is telling you as boys not to cry, there is gadbad that is happening in the first 5 years. Okay, so the first 5 years, the first 10 years of our life is when a lot of conditioning happens for gender stereotypes. और सारी गड़बड़ वहीं से शुरू होती है. Okay, it is all over the place. It is in our toys, in our fairy tales, it is in the movies that we watch, it's in the cartoons that we watch, it's in narratives. Okay, so I'm going to take a minute right now. I'd like you to open the chat box and tell me some cliches that you hear as far as genders is concerned. कोई gender stereotype आपको पता है besides the one that we've discussed? Open the chat box and let's brainstorm what are some unnecessary gender stereotypes that we get to hear for children. What are those? Or maybe even for adults. What are some gender stereotypes? What are some famous ones? Boys don't feel pain. Boys can't wear pink. यार color का क्या लेना देना है? आपको पता है, this is so strange. As a change maker, I do a lot of research on this mudda. Kinder Joy, which is a chocolate, has got pink and blue. क्यों? What has Kinder Joy as a chocolate got to do with pink and blue? Nothing. Boys do not do household chores. Boys should earn more. Yeah, boys should earn more. In fact, there's so much pressure on men to be able to provide more. So as a boy, as a man, I need to have a bigger bank balance. I need to have a bigger house. I need to have a bigger car. I should be able to do more for me to get the validation. Okay. And then we're not teaching boys survival skills. And I'm talking generic. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule, and we need to create more of these exceptions. But we're talking about the narrative of the society in general. Okay. Boys shall not cook, boys should be educated for sure, but girls, it is an option. Girls should not talk to boys. अरे हाँ बहुत होते हैं stereotypes. And we live in this metro city claiming to be really cool. Go to a tier 2 city, a tier 3 city, go to a village, and you will know what stereotypes we're talking about. Go to some places in different parts of the world, and you will know what stereotypes are. Good, good. Keep that going. Come on. We need to talk. I need your voice. This is the place where you raise your voice. So put down every single stereotype that comes to your mind. कितने सारे हैं यार, कितने सारे हैं. Even for us as adults, girls should not laugh on the road. हाँ, जोर से हंस नहीं सकते. Boys should argue and fight while girls need to be calm. हाँ, आदमी को गुस्सा आ सकता है, औरत को गुस्सा नहीं आना चाहिए. What else? What else? Girls can't go for night out. Yeah, this is a safety issue. That's what they say. What else? Girls are meant to only listen. Girls should not talk loudly. जोर से बात नहीं करो. Girls can't travel alone or go for solo trip. Again, a lot of girls are doing that now. And I don't know if that's right, wrong, whatever, to each their own, but we're talking about stereotypes right now. Boys should make friends with boys only. Girls should not have body hair. Okay. What else? Boys can be humorous and will always mock girls. There is something really cool about eve teasing, like ladki ko chhedna. Ye cool kyun hai yaar? What is cool about it? Girls can't drive. So a lot of these narratives are changing now, right? So we'll come to solutions in a while, but these are narratives that do exist. Girls should marry and leave her parents. And there's a large problem with what we are doing, especially in the modern world right now, trying to break these stereotypes, okay? We are trying to somewhere empower girls. We're giving them education. We're telling them you can work, you can get a degree, you can get a job, you can work, you can do all of that. But you know what? After you get your degree and all of that, you're working, you know what? Once you get married, you have to leave everything. Forget that you ever studied, forget that you ever had a job. You need to just flip, like a split personality, just flip, okay? And become a different person. You become a bahu. You just leave everything behind, okay? Now, what we are doing is, or we are saying, agar aapko agar kaam karna hai, then you please balance both. So we're expecting women to be superheroes, okay? And there is a boy in today's world who wants to support the woman. So he wants to support his wife कि चलो दोनों मिलके काम करते हैं, नया जमाना है वो करते हैं. But उस लड़के को हमने survival skills तो सिखाए ही नहीं. We did not teach the boy that you need to know घर का काम, some of it, because you're going to be married someday to a girl who will be a working woman. So we've actually empowered the girls, but we've not taught the boys to learn basic survival skills, household chores, partnering in a relationship. ये तो हमने सिखाया ही नहीं. Okay, father is helping mother in household work. She needs it. But at the same time, son is taught not to help his wife. Yeah. So much hypocrisy, you know. Girls don't have brains or logical thinking. Girls and finance don't go together. Girls and IT, तो अब तो खुल रहा है, but girls can work only if their in-laws' husbands agree. Boys should not support in-laws financially. Come on, boys, you don't have any stereotypes? I want to hear from the boys. What are some stereotypes that you find in the society? I'll give you one, okay? A boy can never take a sabbatical. A man cannot quit his job and take a sabbatical. If a man has a very successful family business, is he really allowed to become an artist? Leave all that business behind. Difficult है. Boys have to be the provider no matter what. वो sabbatical नहीं ले सकता. चाहे जो हो जाए उसने प्रोवाइड करना है. तुम मर्द नहीं हो. तुम कैसे मर्द हो? Don't we hear these things? And it's just so sad. And like I said, I'm saying it with a lot of compassion because I have a son. Okay. And for a long time, I must tell you that I was so ignorant that I believed the problem was with the opposite gender. Okay. So I went through like a really difficult marriage. And when I walked out of that marriage with a 3-year-old, I felt like the problem was with every man on this planet. And it was such ignorant thinking because I felt the man was the issue. And I think that's a larger problem today, right? Today, we're talking about bashing each other as genders. But then when I did a lot of deep healing work within, I realized आदमी तो ज्यादा पिट रहा है क्योंकि वो पिटने के बाद रो भी नहीं सकता. तो हम क्या कर रहे हैं? What are we doing to boys and girls, right? The problem is not the gender. The problem is patriarchy and the way society has created these rules for us. Okay. So I'm really, really happy that you are talking. You are talking, right? If you feel this discussion is actually helping you think and reflect, and agar aapko maza aa raha hai, if you're really enjoying this, then put an emoji in the chat box. I want to know how the session is going for you so far, how this discussion is going for you. Put an emoji or share something in the chat box in terms of how do you feel the session is going for you so far, because this is going to get deeper. Okay, this is going to get deeper. This is one of my favorite subjects, and there is so much to explore in this area. Okay, I'm going to read some more comments. Okay, boys can live without getting married. Boys are meant to live for families' happiness by sacrificing their wishes. Yeah, boys always wrong in front of society. हाँ, लड़कों को बैश करो और लड़कियों को अबला नारी बना दो. Girls can't live single. People only think लोग क्या कहेंगे and try not to be themselves. ये तो खैर, this is a problem across generations, demographics, genders. ये तो अलग ही problem. लोग क्या कहेंगे. Okay, so I'm glad you're having fun with this session. This is going to get deeper, like I said. Now, what we need to understand is that, and you may want to write this down, okay? Because when I heard this for the first time years ago, I was like, this is amazing. So, masculine and feminine are not genders, but masculine and feminine are energies. Masculine and feminine are energies. So there's a masculine energy and there is a feminine energy. Okay. And every human being has both masculine energy and feminine energy inside. Okay. Now, what is masculine energy? Can you put some ideas in the chat box? Does anyone know what is masculine energy? What could be some characteristics of masculine energy? Decisive, bold, fearless, initiative taker, masculine energy, protective, hardness, softness, strong. Right. So a masculine energy is energy that is the providing energy, like someone mentioned, right? Providing and doing, building, okay? Anything that requires us to do that. It signifies physical strength, more action. Thank you so much, Ganesh. There's more action when you're operating from your masculine energy. Okay? It's more action-oriented. It's more provider-oriented. So that's masculine energy. Okay? What is feminine energy? Please put your ideas in the chat box. What is feminine energy? Masculine, feminine. What is feminine? Pooja, I love that word. इसको लिख लो. Nurturing energy. Soft energy. Positive तो खैर दोनों हो सकते हैं. Masculine, feminine, फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Cooperative. Again, that's not a trait of a masculine or feminine energy, but that's a human trait. There's more empathy. There's something very, very important about masculine and feminine energy that we need to understand. Emotional patience, acceptance. इस acceptance को ना हम थोड़ा सा change करेंगे, ठीक है? We'll say that the feminine energy is receiving energy. Receiving. Masculine is giving, doing, and feminine is receiving, resting, being, nurturing. Okay, so that is feminine energy. Are you getting hang of this? We can do an entire session, by the way, on masculine and feminine energies because they're just so important. Okay, so masculine energy is the energy that's decisive, that is action oriented, that wants to build something, that wants to do, that wants to provide. And feminine energy is the energy that wants to nurture, that wants to feel more, wants to be more, rest more, yeah, receive more. So ये होता है masculine and feminine energy. Now human beings have both energies inside of themselves. Okay. A successful human being is the one that has both the energies balanced within. और इसका gender role से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. Okay. If as a man, I have excessive masculine energy, then I could become toxic in the way I could, okay? I could become toxic in the way I deal with people. And if as a woman, I'm exercising too much feminine energy, then I might become too submissive. Okay. And that's what you're seeing as extremes. Because what we've done is we've told men, you're only supposed to have masculine energy. Okay. And type an aha in the chat box if this is relatable for you, because it was a huge aha for me when I learned this, right? So we're telling men that you're supposed to have only masculine energy. You're only supposed to provide. You're supposed to be strong. You're the one taking decisions. You're the one doing. Or wo pis gaya hai baat. We have abused the masculine energy for men. And to women, we've told them, you have to nurture. And that nurture is crossing a threshold now. Okay. So what she used to do in childhood, which is making, braiding the hair of Barbie dolls, dressing her up, cooking with the kitchen tea set, all of that has been taken now when she's grown up. And we told her, your job is to nurture. And we're abusing that nurturing energy, pushing her to a point where she can't take it anymore. Okay. And now there is full khichdi happening in the society because women are saying, well, you know what? I don't need to nurture. I don't only need to nurture. I can also provide. So now a woman is trying to provide, get the masculine energy at an extreme level and the feminine energy also at an extreme level, and she is burning out. She's burning out. And the man who's supposed to own his masculine energy and own his feminine energy is also lost, has no idea what direction to take, is losing his decisiveness. Okay. So there's a huge challenge in the way the society is creating narratives. Now, gender roles, kahan se aate hain? I'm going to spend 2 minutes to talk about that. And if you find some ahas there, keep talking about it, put it in the chat box, put your ideas, comments. I love the way we are interacting, though we can't see each other, we can't talk to each other. It's a one-way conversation, but I love the way you're interacting with me. So back in the days when we were hunters, I'd like you to go back to a time when we were hunters, if you remember that time. उस टाइम पे जेंडर रोल्स बहुत क्लियरली डिफाइंड थे and the role was man would go out and hunt. Man would go out and hunt. Why? Because men have more physical strength. Men have more physical strength. Okay. So man went out to hunt. And a woman is bearing babies. So she's sitting in the cave protecting the kids. वो जाता था, वो खाना लाता था और ये खाना बनाती थी. क्लियर थे जेंडर रोल्स, कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं था बाबा. लाइफ बहुत अच्छे से चल रही थी, दोनों के रोल्स बहुत क्लियरली डिफाइंड थे. उसके बाद वी मूव्ड इनटू फार्मिंग. ओके, and when farming started, though it was a rigorous role of plowing and putting the seeds and watering it, the physical part of it was done by the man. Okay, and some part of it the woman used to do, but still she was raising babies and doing all of that. That was also a time when there was barter, there was no currency. और फिर आया सबसे बड़ा दुश्मन for genders, and that was currency. When currency came in, man would go out, earn the money, and bring money on the table. And woman would cook and take care of the house, but there was no dollar value attached to that job, and still does not exist. So just because there was money, patriarchy said that this job of earning money is higher in value as compared to a woman who's sitting at home and nurturing her house, her home, taking care of kids, क्योंकि वहां तो कोई dollar value था ही नहीं. So what happened is this imbalance started, and somewhere patriarchy said, you know what, men are more powerful because they are earning money, they are bringing food on the table. The entire economy, by the way, can change if we start paying homemakers, because there's a lot of work that they do. Raising a child, taking care of the house, doing things at home, nurturing a home is a huge job. But we are not paying women to do that. And that's where the imbalance started. And that imbalance continued for a long time. And as it continued for a long time, women started rebelling because they felt that they had no respect. They had no respect. Now, the man didn't do it on purpose. It was a lot of conditioning that kept happening for him. When currency, materialism, capitalism came in, patriarchy started giving more privileges unnecessary to men because they were earning money. Because obviously, capitalism wanted to grow. So, with all of this, women started realizing ये तो बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है. Why don't I have respect for the work that I do? The respect that was there when they were in the cave, the respect that they were there when they were farming was beautifully wiping out because money started becoming more powerful. It became a power battle. Money started becoming more powerful. And then education came in. Now, with education, you don't need to have physical strength. You need to have mental capability to work and earn money. तो आज तो कोई भी काम कर सकता है, कोई भी पैसा कमा सकता है, कोई भी बाहर जाके पैसा कमा सकता है, बिकॉज ये पैसा और पावर का स्ट्रगल हो गया एंड नॉट सो मच अबाउट द जेंडर्स. So we are being fooled actually in this whole gender battle by the patriarchal society. And there are solutions. But before we look at solutions, please understand that you need to look within and see if you have a balance of masculine and feminine energy. Because if that balance is missing, you're going to go through stress. You're going to have broken relationships. You won't be able to live up to your full potential. You will be burnt out. I guarantee you that. I've been there. So I'm telling you, it's going to be a really bad road for us if we don't balance our energies within. So what is the solution? What is the solution? How do we bring about more balance in the society? How do we break boundaries? Because that is the topic for today, right? How do we break boundaries and challenge gender stereotypes? The first thing we need to do, और इसको ना सुन लो, समझ लो, इसको embrace कर लो, इसको लिख लो कहीं पे. First is we need to understand that we are different but equal. We are different but equal. Men and women are different biologically. Biologically, हम different है. Okay, at least till the point you don't get an organ change or whatever. Men and women, biologically, the way they are born, they're different. Hormones are different. And I'm somebody who's doing a lot of study on gender stereotypes, and I can tell you this, right? Testosterone is higher with men. Physical strength is higher with men. Emotional resilience is higher with women. Okay? Men naturally like to provide. Women naturally like to nurture. So we are different in some ways, but we are equal. I know a lot of couples, not a lot of couples, lot of to ज़्यादा बोल दिया मैंने. I know few couples who have no gender roles in their marriage or relationship. बहुत कम. और ऐसा ही होना चाहिए. So if you go out on a date with your spouse, whoever has the money puts the money on the table. And अगर बर्तन गंदे हैं किचन में और मेड आई नहीं है, जो धो सकता है वो धो दे यार, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? We are different, but we are equal. Do we really need to get stuck in those gender roles? Do we really need to be with that conditioning? I know a couple where a man is a stay-home dad because his wife wanted to work and he wanted to take a sabbatical. And it was a mutual decision that they took, and they're happy with that decision. Unki marzi. It's their life, and that is what they feel was right for them. But that's because they realized that they're different human beings, but they're equal. They can take that call. Right? Do we really recognize our differences? So that's step number 2 and 3. Step number 2 is understanding and accepting myself for who I am. Society might tell me that as a woman, I need to have a size 0 figure and I need to have these nails and hair and these beauty cosmetics and all of this. And as a man, the society might tell me that you need to be at this position, you need to earn this much salary, this is the car you need to have, this needs to be your performance, apparently. But who cares? Can we really accept who we are? And that requires a lot of inner work. Because ये 5 साल वाली जो early 5 years वाली conditioning है ना, वो जाती नहीं आराम से. I'm telling you, I've been a work in progress, doing it for 10 long years. And I feel so liberated now. कि फर्क पैंदा. The other day, there was this Instagram post that sparked a lot of controversy. There was this post around whether a woman needs to change her name to her husband's name after marriage. And people were saying for it, mostly against it. And there is a lot of toxic conversation happening in this whole space. And I'm thinking to myself, eventually, लड़की की मर्जी है यार, उसकी मर्जी, वो अपना लास्ट नेम रखे ना रखे, हस्बैंड का रखे, खुद का रखे. Why are there so many standards for everything? Can we accept who we are in our own genders? Okay. The third point, and this is super important, yeah, this is something we don't talk about because we are so stuck with the problems that our gender faces, and we want to bash the opposite gender. And इस पे कितना content बनता है? आप social media खोल के देखो, bashing the other gender पे बहुत content बनता है. And I must tell you, I have this confession to make. Like I told you, I was so ignorant. I was this really toxic, I was this really toxic feminist. And feminism is a beautiful word, by the way. If you really study feminism, and I have been blessed to study feminism with some very renowned people who are also spiritual in nature. Feminism is equality for both genders. But there's so much toxicity happening right now that we're talking about feminism and people want to run away. It's like the F word people don't want to listen to. And there is toxic masculinity. ये दो चीजों को हमने इतना बड़ा बना दिया है. अरे it's okay यार, compassion लेकर आओ, प्यार लेकर आओ, इंसान ही है eventually. Why the gender war? Gender war is a little too much. Can we have more compassion towards the other gender? So boys, can you imagine a girl who was given a kitchen tea set and a Barbie doll and was told you have to serve tea and biscuits to a husband who will come back? A girl who was told you can study, you can have a job, but once you get married, काम करना है तो दोनों manage करो, तो वो दोनों कर रही है. Can we have compassion? Girls, can you have compassion for boys? A boy that was not allowed to cry when he was a little child. A boy that was told that you need to have a one-track mind, that you have to provide for your family. तुम्हारे पास पैशन है, आर्टिस्ट बनना है, सब भूल जाओ, कुछ नहीं कर सकते तुम. बीवी बच्चे हो गए, अभी प्रोवाइड करो, नई स्कूल में डालना है, इमोशन की जगह नहीं है, लॉजिक सोचो, तुमको अपनी फैमिली को पाल पोस के बड़ा करना है. Even if he is tired at office, even if he is providing for the whole family, he is expected to still, be the best in everything at home, be the best father, the best son. Bichara mother-in-law, daughter-in-law ke beech mein fas jata hai. So can we have compassion for both the genders? Okay, that is a solution. And the last solution, which is so important, is can we raise conscious children? Any parents in this room, type me in the chat box. If there are any parents in this room, in this virtual room. Okay. Parents, we have a large responsibility, especially if you are raising a boy. If you're raising a boy, because हम women empowerment में तो बहुत काम कर रहे हैं. Okay, वो करते रहो, अच्छी बात है. But if you're raising a boy, let that boy cry. Let him do household chores. Teach him survival skills. Issue कम हो जाएगा. ये gender war को अगर हमको, if we want to break boundaries and we want to move beyond this boundary, we need both the genders to come together, understand each other, and build a beautiful society. We need to include men in this journey, understand them. We need to have men understand the challenges of women and look at each other as human beings that are struggling in this patriarchal war, right? So we're going to leave this session open for a few questions, and then we're going to end this in our own unique, special way. But I want to share something with you before we start questions, okay? And that is, once you sort of start embracing who you are, you're not going to feel the need to get stuck in this gender paradigm, because ये बहुत छोटा है. You have to break boundaries within to be able to break boundaries on the outside. Okay, so on that note, I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. You can put the questions in the chat box, and I would be happy to answer them. And then after the questions are over, we'll end it with a small little story from my end. Yeah.
So before we move to the Q&A section, so I would like to launch a poll wherein you can just give us a feedback regarding the session or any of the suggestions that you would like to see on the further session as well. So if you have any questions or you wanted to if you want to talk to directly to Almaz, you can just raise your hand. I will move to the panelist and you can discuss your questions or queries that you have with Almaz.
Shikha says she's taking away balancing energies. Okay, Usha. So Usha, how do you, question hai aapka, how do you deal with expectations from the other gender? One word answer is open communication. Okay. You have to understand that the other gender does not understand your problem completely. You might think that unko samajhna chahiye, but they don't. I'll give you an example, okay? So there's a lot of research on what men want in a relationship and what women want. And there's a lot of psychological studies and surveys around it. And there's one particular survey and study that's going viral, and everybody's talking about it, that men want respect in a relationship and women want more affection. So if you are a woman, you probably are giving too much affection to a man and not respect. And if you're a man, you're probably giving the woman too much respect and not affection. Why? Because that's the language you understand. So question is, how do you deal with expectation from the other gender? You tell them what you are comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with, who you are, how do you feel within. Open communication is so important. I think a lot is missed between what could have been said and what is said and what is understood. Everything is lost in translation. We're expecting other people to read our minds. अरे but उसको समझना चाहिए था. इतना सा expectation है, क्यों नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, right? So we need to talk. We need to talk from here and people will understand it. In this AI world and technology, don't you think the basic fundamentals are missing in nurturing the kids? How many parents spending time in providing toys or reading stories? So the name is Ra H, and that's, I mean, I don't know how to address you, but what a beautiful question that is. I would love to come back and do a round two at some point in time to talk about the future of children and what a mess it is in the society today. Okay. And what is happening to children as a result of technology. You're so right. So kids are busy on their phones all the time. वो बचपन में पता है वो एक दूध की बॉटल के साथ एक पैसिफायर आता था. वो मोबाइल जो है ना वो पैसिफायर बन चुका है. तो पकड़ा दो और वो चुप हो जाएगा. Right. So you're right, and parents have so much pressure to provide and to prove themselves and to give their children a better life that they have no time. And parents are lost themselves dealing with their own childhood traumas, their own issues. I believe if there is one purpose in life that I have, and that is to raise a conscious child. उससे बड़ा कोई purpose है ही नहीं. Because eventually that child is going to grow up to be a future citizen, a future father, a future husband. So it's so important for us to raise that child right. Boy or girl, doesn't matter. But you're right. It's a crazy space out there. And technology is ruining so much for the kids. Technology सुविधा है या दुविधा, ये बहुत बड़ा question है. Right. I think maybe one last question we can take. In the meanwhile, please keep sharing your thoughts on what do you think about our conversation today? What are you taking back? How has this little conversation between us inspired you? How do you feel about the conversation we've had? I would love to know.
Yeah, hi Almas. I can't switch on my video, but I'll just talk to you. Wonderful session, first of all. It seemed like fresh air in a suffocating room. Thank you so much. So I will also like to share one experience with you when we talked about feminism and toxic feminism. So I have a 10-year-old boy. So couple of days back, he came from school and he was little grumpy. And when I asked him what happened, he told me that we only talk about boys, how they should behave with girls, how they should respect girls, not hit girls. What about girls? Girls can do anything to us. So I was like little shocked and I told him what happened at the school. He said there is a girl who keeps pulling my cheeks and touching me and I don't like it, but we can't say anything because she's a girl, I'm a boy, I'm supposed to behave. So, that made me think that yes, it is important for parents of girls also to tell their boys what is appropriate behavior. We focus so much on, telling boys how they're supposed to behave with
Yeah.
girls, but it's not the other way around and it should be there.
How beautifully said, Dr. Supreet. So I have a similar challenge with my son, right? He keeps talking about all the issues that boys face all the time. He's like, अगर elevator बंद है स्कूल का या elevator चालू भी है, okay, so his class is on the 8th floor. His class is on the 8th floor, and during the break the boys have to climb down, but the girls take the elevator.
So that's
They went to
wrong.
watch a movie in the theater, and girls were given these lovely premium balcony seats, not balcony, but the premium seats. And he was like, "Kyun? Ye to discrimination hai, mama." I said, "Very good. You are a new age change maker."
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, very, very good insight. Very good insight. Yeah. I think we're flipping on the other side very quickly without realizing it. पता है क्या होगा? ये जो औरतों का suppression था ना, ये उल्टा हो जाएगा. ये balance
Exactly.
नहीं हो पा रहा है, which is where I
Exactly.
think people like us need to look at how we're raising kids for a better society. I'm so glad,
Absolutely.
yeah, all of us are speaking up and we are having fun in this conversation. So, Ekta, I think this topic, the choice of this topic worked well for us.
Yes, Almas, truly.
Right, right, right. So, anything from you before I close the session?
I wanted to give you a heartfelt gratitude for joining us today and giving and sharing all your expertise and the experiences that you have gone through till now, and making us understand the challenges of gender stereotypes. And I also wanted to thank you all our participation for engaging and having a thoughtful questions. So your participation has enriched our discussion and highlighted the importance of challenging gender stereotype in today's society.
Thank you, Ekta, once again for inviting me. I just want to end on a very, very special and sacred note. So very few people know this about me, but after I went through a really bad marriage, I was broken. completely. Okay? And I had to pick up my pieces. And बहुत सारे लोगों ने मुझे बोला, अरे तुम केस कर दो, ये कर दो, बच्चे को मत भेजो फादर के पास, all of that drama. And I was then on a spiritual path. I was lucky enough to have found the right mentors, the right gurus, the right people who walked into my life, and I got onto a spiritual path and a healing path to discover who I was and why I went through what I went through. Why did so much darkness come into the marriage? When people ask me today what happened in the marriage, उसने क्या किया? I said हम दोनों बहुत ज्यादा darkness में फंसे हुए थे, तो darkness आ गया marriage में. So that is how I usually say that today. But when I was on this journey to heal myself, there was this one night when I was very angry. I was very angry with men. Like I said, the earlier version of me, ignorant version of me, the not evolved version of me years ago was very angry with men. कुछ तो हुआ था. And मैं बहुत गुस्सा थी और उस रात को मैं बहुत रोई. The next morning when I woke up with this feeling of realization and knowing in my heart that the soul has no gender. We're souls and we are not genders, and the soul has no gender. Right? Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope I was able to bring more life into your lives and a little more light into your life. But I want you to go back with this, knowing that we are all souls and the soul has no gender. Thank you so much.